Hello and welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is my fabulous producer, Wayne Ridenauer in wonderful Memphis, Tennessee. You can catch us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify. And please give us a review on Apple and Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on all social media platforms. Again, at ATL Prime Sports. Personal X's at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is out this evening with some family and friends, and at LG For Real Though for Larry Gardner, your PA voice of the Rome Emperors. He is calling the Adairsville Tigers men's and women's basketball games tonight versus Calhoun High School. The Yellow Jackets versus the Tigers. We hope the Tigers are winning. They're going for a regional championship versus those Calhoun Yellow Jackets. So go Tigers. We appreciate Larry for what he does for the Adairsville community. Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing all right. We've got some more basketball coming up tomorrow night. So I'll be at the FedEx Forum as the Tigers face the Golden Hurricanes of Tulsa. And, they continue to climb back up the standings, but it's a mystery to me why there are so many 6 and 5 loss teams ranked as high as they are. So that may be another show altogether, though. How is things going over there with you, man?
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm doing very well. Things have been kind of chaotic and hectic over here with a couple young girls, a 4 and 2-year-old, but all is well. And all is well except for in Dallas. Seems like all the Dallas Maverick fans wanted to protest the trade at the NBA offices. The Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade made headlines Saturday evening. And boy, lots of backlash. And I don't see why. Look, I think the Mavs kind of didn't want to pay the guy. I think you see players move from team to team. You get a first-round pick if you're Dallas, a future first-round pick. You get a player in Anthony Davis who's won a championship. So I think in the short term, it could be good for L.A., but in the long term, it could work out. The Mavs could get another Luka Doncic with that future first-round pick. Who knows? But to be up in arms that much about it, I wouldn't get too bent out of shape, Mavericks fans. I don't know if Luka maybe even wanted to be there. Who knows? His comments were kind of cryptic in his press conference. But I'm doing well. I thought that was kind of crazy. Mentioned it on the show. What's on tap for today? Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers, joins us for the Georgia State Report and the Dave Cohen Report. We're going to talk some college basketball after that. Wayne and I will talk about our Final Four favorites. And we preview the Super Bowl and our Pick Six with some prop bets as well. We'll have some fun with that, our final Pick Six of the year. And without further ado, Dave Cohen joins us, voice of the Georgia State Panthers, football, baseball, and men's basketball. Joins us for the Dave Cohen Report. Dave, thanks for coming on. How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty good, guys. It's been a while, although I did come through Memphis a few weeks back, Wayne, when Georgia State was headed down to Arkansas State. Flew into Memphis. And then bust across the river down to Jonesboro.
Well, I tell you what, from the beginning of this season, I knew that the Arkansas State Red Wolves had a great team because they really put it to Memphis at the FedEx Forum early on in the year. So I'm not surprised they're ranked number 1 in y'all's conference.
Yep, you mentioned you're going to go see Memphis play Tulsa. Georgia State played Tulsa the day before Thanksgiving down in Jacksonville, Florida, the Jacksonville Classic, and you'll see a former Georgia State player on that Tulsa roster tomorrow night in Dewan Odom. So
okay, all right.
Say hello for me.
Well, Dave, it's Super Bowl weekend, or week, I should say. We can't let you go without a Super Bowl prediction. Who you taking and or who you rooting for?
Who's playing in the Super Bowl? Remind me.
Eagles and the Chiefs.
Well, that's kind of for me as a Patriots guy first and a Falcons guy second. That's kind of the lesser of two evils. I've never been a fan of the Chiefs, and I don't like the Eagles, so I really have an answer. Kansas City will find a way to win the game.
Yeah, good teams usually find a win. Our TC always says, don't press send and don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. But we'll move.
Yeah, they just, I saw them a few times on TV this year. They seem to be that team that even when it comes down to the wire, they somehow find a way to win. They make a key play, whether it's on offense or defense, late in the game, and they somehow get out of the stadium with a W. So, the interesting thing will be, and I know you're a Georgia fan. There's a lot of, how many Bulldogs are on that Eagles roster? I know there's a number of former Georgia defensive players that are on that Eagles roster. I think this is going to be the test of wills between, Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Can they get it done against obviously one of the better defensive units with a lot of Bulldogs on that side of the ball for Philadelphia? That's taking nothing away from the Eagles offense, but I think that's where the key matchup is. Kansas City offense, Philadelphia defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two great defenses. We'll get into that one more. But yes, for the 23rd consecutive year, a Georgia football player will play in the Super Bowl. And I believe there's 6 or 8 total playing in this game. I believe you had 2 on the Chiefs. I think Miko Hardman is included in that, even though he's on the IR. And I believe you got 6 on the Eagles. So lots of familiar Georgia Bulldog faces on these rosters. But we'll move from football to college basketball a little bit. The Panthers struggling overall, 8-15. Little improvement in conference play at 4-7. They're 5 behind the Arkansas State Wolfpack, as we mentioned earlier. What's going on with this men's basketball team?
Well, and I've been in a number of discussions about it. We're just living in that world of college athletics today where, since Jonas Hayes took over from Rob Lanier 3 seasons ago, the roster has turned over each year. And it will turn over again at the end of this year with what we have, 9. I think we had 9 new players this year. 6 of them are guaranteed to not be here next year. They'll be out of eligibility, and who knows at this juncture, especially when you're not having a really good season, how many will make the decision, to move on anyway. So we've got some good players out of the transfer portal. Nick McMullen has been solid from UNC Asheville. He's averaging basically a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. Cesar Edwards, who transferred from Missouri State, but who first crossed paths with Coach Hayes at Xavier, has been solid. He just had what I consider to be a pretty good road trip. He had 27 points at Marshall, came back with, which was a game Georgia State won last Thursday night, and then came back with a 24-point outing at Appalachian State on Saturday, a game that we did not win. So he's been pretty steady as a 6'10 post player. I can count on one hand in my 42 years of the number of legit post players, let's say 6'10 and taller that we've had in the Georgia State program, and Cesar definitely is one of them. But our guard play is not up to the standard that we have seen in the Sun Belt Conference. Malachi Brown transferred back from, he's from Buford. He transferred back from Seton Hall. And he's been good, but, he's still basically a freshman. And so he had a pretty good road trip too, scored double digits at both Marshall and Appalachian State. But he's going up against, it seems like every night, pretty good guard play in the Sun Belt Conference. So to pull it all together, it's just that with so many new faces each and every year that have come in out of the transfer portal the last years, there really just hasn't been that sense of cohesiveness that we saw a little bit when Rob Lanier had it in 2021-22 when we went to the NCAA tournament, played Gonzaga that year out in Portland. That team, although made up of mostly transfers, they'd been together 2 and 3 years. There was a little bit of cohesiveness. There was that team aspect. They knew one another. They played with one another. They practiced a lot with one another. And then before that, obviously, Ron Hunter was here. And then before that, Well, Rod Barnes was there, but even going back to Lefty Drizel, you had kids that were here for a couple of 3 years, and the rosters just turned over in the last 3 years, where you're getting a lot of what I call rent-a players, and they're good kids, but they just have not been able to find steady success in the Sun Belt Conference. And the Sun Belt. I'm not saying the Sun Belt is a great basketball league right now. It has a couple of really good teams. Arkansas State, as Wade knows, having seen them early in the season, they're currently leading the conference in first place, just ahead of Troy. But even with the number of teams that are in the overall, what do they call it now, the RPI of 300 or lower, it's still every single night, we're one of those lower ranked teams. And every once in a while, you'll see something that will kind of catch your eye, like Louisiana Monroe, who was dead last in the Sun Belt and who Georgia State hosts tomorrow night, Wednesday night. They jump up in back-to-back games, one in Monroe, Louisiana, and then 2 days later in Mobile, Alabama. They take down the then first-place South Alabama Jaguars in back-to-back games, which really just kind of shocked everybody around the Sun Belt. But overall, when you look at overall team RPIs, other than the top, let's say, 2-4 teams in the Sun Belt, everybody else is ranked in the 200s and lower. But from guard play, our guard play has to get better. We're okay in the post. We've got decent perimeter shooting. We're just young in the backcourt with Malachi Brown and with Jelani Hamilton. Jelani's a Wheeler High School kid, originally from Marietta, who transferred back from Iowa State. They're both good players, but they're both basically freshmen, even though they transferred in. Malachi didn't play that much at Seton Hall, and Jelani didn't play that much, if at all, at Iowa State. They're playing. This is like their first go-around of being a Division I starting guard, even at the Sun Belt level. So I think that's kind of where we have taken. That's kind of been our Achilles heel. Along the front line of the post, we're fine. We got two of the better post players in the Sun Belt. It's been our guard and some of our wing play that's been inconsistent.
You're listening to Dave Cohen right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can find Dave on X at GA State Voice. You mentioned that point guards have had trouble getting the ball down to the bigs, only 12.5 assists per game. It's tied 313th in the country. It's pretty low there. But you get some experience. You get these guys grown up, as they say. You keep some guys in your program. Like you said, I think that could lead to a turnaround. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. And, Cesar Edwards, our 6'10 center that I mentioned, he will not be back next year. He'll be out of eligibility. Nick McMullen, our 6'8 power forward, the one averaging a double, he will not be there next year. He will be out of eligibility. So, they're already obviously recruiting. You're always recruiting. In some instances, you're recruiting your own players to even stay beyond the season. That's again the world that we live in nowadays. But if Malachi and Jelani stay and have a really good off season of workouts, they'll be both that much better next year in 25-26 because they will have had a full season of Sun Belt basketball under their belt. Now, that's not to say that Jonas Hayes and his staff are not looking for an upgrade at that position. Looking ahead, right now the concern would be, the front line, just because of what we're going to lose as we get to next season.
Yeah, it's tough with the young roster and a lot of turnover, and especially in basketball, you mentioned it. You need that cohesiveness, that brotherhood, that team mentality. Well, Dave, we'll get one more Sun Belt basketball question in, and then we'll talk a little football and baseball real quick. Your thoughts on Arkansas State and the top of this conference? How far could teams go in March if it's Arkansas State, Troy, South Alabama, the top of the conference? Where you think they could win a game or two? How deep could one of these top Sun Belt teams go?
Well, right now the Sun Belt, well, not right now, still the Sun Belt is a one-bid league. So Arkansas State, if they end up holding on and finishing first and getting that bye in the Sun Belt tournament, they're going to have a great opportunity to win the conference tournament and get that automatic bid. I don't think they're in a position, obviously, to get an at-large because, if it came down to them
RPI.
needing it, if they needed an at-large, strength of schedule, because there are so many low-ranked schools in the Sun Belt, would be against them. So they're going to have to win the conference tournament. But depending upon what their seed would be, and I'm guessing it would probably be anywhere between a 12 and a 15. They have the capability of winning a game in the NCAA tournament, I think. I've only seen them once in person, and they had their way with us in Jonesboro. But, decent post play. But again, their strength is their backcourt. They've got experienced guards. Again, Wayne saw them firsthand, too, when they beat Memphis at FedEx Forum. They're legit. Right now, I think, even though Troy is right behind them by a game or two, Arkansas State, as we head down the stretch run here in Sun Belt Conference place, barring a misstep, they're creating a little bit of separation between themselves and the rest of the Sun Belt Conference. But I think they're capable if they do win the conference tournament, and I think they're capable of winning at least one game in the NCAA tournament. They've got that good of a roster.
You're listening to Dave Cohen right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can catch Dave on X at GA State Voice. We'll go from basketball to baseball real quick. NCAA baseball season's right around the corner. What are we, a couple of weeks away from first pitch, Dave?
Well, Georgia State will open the season on Valentine's Day, February 14. They're going to open a 3-game series against the Belmont Bruins. And then they will head on the road to Jacksonville, Alabama for a 3-game series at Jacksonville State. Very, very similar situation, and it hasn't been released yet. But I was down at the stadium last week recording a Panther Insider podcast with our head coach, Brad Stromdahl. And, I always like to go over the roster with him before the season starts. And there are some key positions that are returning, but probably, 60-40 guys returning, a lot of new faces on that Georgia State roster. And it always comes down to pitching. A couple of the guys last year, that ended up getting pressed into innings that they probably were not supposed to be pitching, that will hopefully come back and pay dividends by the time we, get things started on the 14th of February. The baseball situation for us is always the same every year, and I know we've talked about this. Whereas we were just talking about the Sun Belt being a one-bid basketball league, each of the last 2 years, and I'm sure it's the same going further back, but in each of the last 2 years, the Sun Belt has had 4 teams in NCAA baseball regionals. You could make the argument, with football being what drives everything, we know that, but you could make the argument that after football, the Sun Belt is really a baseball league. It's either the 4th or 5th ranked Division I college baseball conference because of the strength of the upper echelon. I'm talking about the Coastal Carolinas, the Southern Misses, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. You could throw in Georgia Southern, Texas State. It's a strong baseball league.
Absolutely.
And they all have nice facilities, which is why Georgia State, hopefully in April or May, is scheduled to break ground on the site of the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium downtown and begin construction on a new baseball stadium facility for Georgia State. If we're going to compete in the Sun Belt in baseball, that stadium is going to have to be built. Playing out where we play now is just not going to cut it, playing in this league. Even though Brad has kept them competitive from a recruiting standpoint, it's just no comparison between where we play now and what we see when we travel around the Sun Belt Conference from baseball park to baseball park. It's a very, very strong college baseball conference. Like I said, you'd see the ranked 4th or 5th, depending upon which poll you look at. And if Georgia State is going to compete, it's going to have to catch up facility-wise, much the same way, guys, that Georgia State did when they built the GSU Convocation Center for men's and women's basketball. For years, we've played in the sports arena, which is about 3,800. It's an old recreation building. And it was, quote unquote, it was a great building for us. There was a lot of history for Georgia State basketball in there. But moving forward, the university and the athletic department knew that a new facility had to come online. And thank goodness the Braves made the decision to move to Truist Park up 75 because it opened up the availability for Georgia State to move into that area and get Turner Field and convert that to Center Park Stadium, and then get the property at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and the property just up Capitol Ave that we built the Convocation Center on. But that's going to be the next big step for Georgia State, in this reporter's opinion, is to get that baseball facility underway and hopefully playing in there by the 2026 season, which is what I'm told and what Brad told me last week when we recorded the still to be released Panther Insider podcast baseball preview. That's the next big facilities news to come out of Georgia State.
A facility upgrade is much needed for the Georgia State Panthers and will be much appreciated for all the Atlanta community. And you're right, Braves moving up 75 was a win-win for Georgia State and the Atlanta Braves. And I can't wait to see what the stadium looks like. You showed us some of the pictures shared on Twitter anyway of what the stadium was supposed to look like. So looking forward to that. And we'll get to college football with what pays the bills around ATL Prime Sports, per se. But new coordinators for Del McGee and the Georgia State Panthers moving into 25-26 season. Your thoughts on the new hires?
Well, to be honest, I haven't met them yet. I'm not sure how long they've been on campus. But, Jim Chaney was the offensive coordinator, well-known in college athletics. He made the decision to retire. Kevin Shearer was the defensive coordinator. He made the decision to move on. So, during the season last year, or just prior to the start of the season, Coach McGee brought Hugh Jackson in, who's got both a collegiate and a National Football League background. He is your new offensive coordinator. And they brought in Deron Wilson from Arkansas to be the new defensive coordinator. They brought in a guy from Louisiana to be the new offensive line coach. There's a new inside linebackers coach, and one or two others. And so, from a coaching standpoint, it will look a little different this year. But the roster, and we're not even at Sun Belt Conference Media Day, which is not until mid to late July, and already I think there's north of 50 new players on this roster. So once again, practice will be of the utmost importance, not just in spring, but watching them in the summer and then in the fall for me, just to familiarize myself with basically not a completely new roster, but that's a lot of new players to once again bring in, for this coming season. And listen, you guys know, I was just, again, with basketball up in Huntington, West Virginia at Marshall and in Boone at Appalachian State. Those guys are not standing by waiting for Georgia State to catch up with regards to talent and facilities and all that kind of stuff. Everybody is trying to get better all the time. And, we've talked about this before. The Sun Belt East is never going to be a breeze.
Never.
And it's James Madison, it's Marshall, it's Appalachian State, it's Georgia Southern, it's Coastal Carolina, it's us. And it's going to be tough every year. And so while bringing in all these transfers looks good on paper, it's great to retweet it when it's on Twitter. Again, eventually you got to come up with a little bit of stability on the roster and not have so much turnover, much like we were just talking about a minute ago with regards to basketball, in order to build something that doesn't morph and change at the end of every season. And and Georgia State's not the only school going through that. I mean, every school in college football is going through that. But, in our circle, in our world, All we're concerned about is Georgia State. And let me just say this, too, about the schedule. This will be of interest to Wayne.
Oh, I already know.
Yeah. So we open up at Ole Miss
Yeah.
on the road in Oxford. And then we come home, I think it's week 2, and we've got the Memphis Tigers. And then week 3, we've got Murray State at home. And week 4, we're on the road to Nashville to play Vanderbilt at their place with Diego Pavia back again.
Oh, boy.
Are you a betting man that Diego Pavia is going to be okay with losing to Georgia State twice? My point is that's an extremely tough schedule. Wayne can talk more about, what Memphis is doing, but we played Memphis before, if you remember, 3-4 years ago, and got drilled at Memphis 59-0. And I know that was 4 years ago, whatever it was. My point is, Memphis, even in a home game for us, is going to be a big challenge.
Well, one of the things to bear in mind about that game is we will have a new quarterback, because ours, stayed as long as he could, and that's the one that y'all faced when y'all did have that big loss here. So there are going to be some new faces and some changes. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be the same Memphis team you would have faced this year or the year before that, but it'll be a great game. And since I'm now newly retired, I'll be able to take those road trips down to Atlanta or wherever I want to see a game if I feel like it.
Well, you let me know when you're coming, Wayne. You can come and hang out with us in the radio booth.
All right. Well, that'd be an excellent treat for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to talk with you off air about that and kind of make it a whole thing with Wayne coming down, and I'd like to try and get down there as well. So we'll definitely make that happen. Should be it'll be the ATL Prime Sports Bowl.
Yeah.
Be careful, Wayne. We'll put you to work. You can spot or be my sidelines guy.
Yeah, well, if you show me what to do and where to put the microphone, then I'll be right at home.
All right. Well, look forward to that. But yeah, Georgia State football. Look, again, it's going to be Coach McGee's second season. The difference this time around is he's been here a full calendar year now. It's not like when he first got hired, he came in late and had to scramble to fill out the roster. That's not the case this year. And as of right now, the coaching staff is solidified. The roster, well, I would never say the roster is completely solidified because they're never solidified this early. But I think it's close to being solidified. But I couldn't tell you today who the starting quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, well.
Couldn't tell you who the starting running back's going to be.
All that gets straightened out in the spring or summer or something.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting, but fun to watch as it develops.
Absolutely. And with NIL and transfer portal, anything can happen at any given time. Well, Dave, thanks for joining us as always. That wraps up the Dave Cohen Report. Tell our listeners how they can catch your Panther Insider podcast and the call tomorrow night at home versus Louisiana Monroe.
Well, the Warhawks will be here in Atlanta tomorrow night. That's Wednesday night. So we'll be on ESPN Plus. And we will be on the Georgia State Radio Network on our 50,000-watt flagship, 88.5 FM WRAS, as well as those that want to listen using their iPhone or iPad, listening to one of the apps, the GSU Athletics app, or the one I like, which is Radio Garden, and just find the station that we're on, which is WRAS. And then the Panther Insider podcast, which I think was episode 139, should be coming out hopefully this week. And we go inside Georgia State baseball with Brad Stromdahl and preview the upcoming 2025 season, which again gets underway on the 14th of this month.
Yeah, college baseball comes at you like that, playing in cold weather, and then takes you right into regionals pretty quickly. Well, Dave, again, as always, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, and go Panthers tomorrow night. Have a great call.
All right, appreciate it. Always good to be on with you guys, and we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Absolutely. Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers football, baseball, and men's basketball. Again, you can catch Dave on X at GA State Voice. Wayne, let's talk a little college basketball. March Madness isn't too far away. Conference plays in full swing. Which teams do you see making a Final Four run, man?
Well, if you're going to go by my personal feelings and how everything's going right now, I would say Definitely Auburn, Duke, and I'm going to have to pick Memphis Tigers. And then I'll throw in the Purdue Boilermakers. I believe they can make another run.
Yeah, Purdue looked pretty good in a win against Indiana the other night, back and forth.
That was some kind of game.
Yeah, you mentioned it. That both teams had a double-digit lead.
Yeah.
Both teams lost the double-digit lead. Lots of lead changes. Those are all fun. Kind of looked like an NCAA
a tournament game, yeah.
Tournament game. But yeah, right now Duke is one of the betting favorites to win the whole thing. Auburn's right there. Houston, Alabama, Iowa State in the Big 12 is surprisingly a 12-1 national championship betting favorite in the top 5 there. Rick Barnes in Tennessee's got a great team. Anyone in the SEC, you can almost pick a barrel. If I was choosing a conference, Wayne, I think I'd go with the SEC if you're just putting all your eggs in one basket for one conference. I think the SEC might have 8 or 9 teams in it, depending on what Georgia does down the stretch. They may be one of those final teams in if Georgia can figure out a way to get a win, a couple wins. I think if they get to 20 wins, they get 5 more wins, I think Georgia's in the tournament. Their strength of schedule is unbelievable. They played your Auburn Tigers twice. I believe they played Florida and Alabama all 2 times. One of the few teams in the SEC to do that. They have beaten St. John's, so they got a couple notches in their belt already. They beat Kentucky, so they have some good wins. They need a couple more. And like I said, if Georgia gets into that 20 win, they're one of those teams that can make a run depending on their seed, maybe a Sweet 16 run. But I don't see anything special with the Georgia Bulldogs. But this could be a special season in terms of Georgia basketball simply because they haven't made the tournament. And, golly, I can't remember. I think the last time that I remember, I think they made it once under Mark Fox. And then I believe they won that random tournament in 2008, I believe.
Yeah.
The tornado, they played like 3 games one day. But yeah, putting all your eggs in one basket, I'd say the SEC is a great conference top to bottom. They're going to get a bunch of teams in. I like Purdue. They're sitting there at 40-1 odds. Texas Tech's got a pretty good team. I tell you, Ole Miss, going back to the SEC, going back to the well, they were up big on Kentucky earlier tonight. I haven't seen a final in that game yet. But there's a lot of good teams. Missouri's pressing forward. It's UConn. You know, they're the 2-time defending national champions. You can't count out Coach Hurley. So there's lots of wide open favorites in this conference. Folks, if you like the content, please give us a like and a subscribe and tell us who you think is going to win the NCAA men's basketball championship or a Final Four favorite, or who you think might be that sleeper that makes the run. Maybe this is the year Gonzaga goes deep when no one's looking at them. Who knows? So we'll see. What you got in your final thought on college basketball, Wayne?
Well, you know, one of the things you mentioned was how strong the SEC looks right now, but I feel like the SEC has a virus that's attached itself to every team except Auburn, and that's that they all have multiple road losses, and I think they're going to continue to have road losses because the home court advantage for teams, I mean, take for example, Vanderbilt is really, really strong, and it looks like that Auburn Tigers are the only ones that are inoculated against the road losses.
Yeah, Auburn's a top team from top to bottom that can do it all. They're coached well. They got good guard play. They rebound. They pass the ball around, and they can shoot the 3 fairly well. They're an all-around team, and they're a favorite to win it. But look, if you had to pick one team to win it all right now, I usually go with the best players win it, and this Cooper Flagg guy from Duke is pretty good, pretty impressive to watch what he's done, especially to UNC the other night. Boy, was that a blowout. Up at 30 points at one time. So college basketball is very healthy, very competitive, and very wide open this year.
And to make it
have another year, Wayne, where I believe there's not going to be that team that just is clearly better than anybody else. And it's going to be wide open, and I think the tournament will reflect that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know who Auburn's only loss is this year?
Tennessee, right?
Nope. Duke.
It was Duke, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that makes it even more interesting now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll move. Any final thoughts on college basketball, Wayne?
No.
we'll move from that to the NFL and some news that broke. We talked about it with Dave a little bit earlier. Kirk Cousins reported to the NFL Network that he was indeed hurt during the season, and it wasn't just the Achilles. Hey, what are your thoughts about the recent Kirk Cousins news, Wayne? I think it's just honestly status quo for the Atlanta Falcons. If this guy was truly hurt, had a hurt shoulder, hurt elbow, was having trouble throwing the ball. I mean, we saw 9 touchdowns. I wish it was 9-1 touchdowns to interceptions. It was the opposite. 9 interceptions to 1 touchdown in a 5-game span told me all I needed to know. He wasn't healthy. He just wasn't healthy, Wayne. Your thoughts on this?
Well, these are all the more reasons, along with his big contract that he got with the Falcons, for me to wonder why Kirk Cousins was not considered for the regular season most valuable player, because that dude played everybody. I think he is the biggest player in the game right now.
Well said. Touche. Look, you see what I got on.
Yeah.
I got the old Super Bowl, the 28-3, and it's probably so faded you can't even see it. This thing's nearly 30 years old now. Our 98 NFC Championship shirt, Wayne. Yeah. There it is.
You see, I went full Glanville.
Reminiscing of the good old days.
Yeah, I went ahead and went full Jerry Glanville on you.
But yeah, I mean, look, the Falcons have to realize, look, and this may be a hot take by me, but I'll tell you what, the Falcons better keep Kirk Cousins, and they better have a full-flown quarterback battle this offseason, because if Kirk Cousins truly was hurt in that New Orleans Saints game, which led to the 4-game losing streak from going 6-3 to 6-7 in a blink of an eye, if that is the case, you did not put a player in position to win. You could have put Michael Penix in earlier and maybe said, hey, he's done for the season. We're going to let Penix play. You could have done that. So there's just an eye-opening, head-scratching moment here where you go, WTF. If he's hurt, why play him? And you could get Penix the experience because obviously the 4-game losing streak put that in motion. So, look, but the Falcons have a decision to make. Again, if they're not going to go into the camp with a full-blown quarterback battle, they're going to make a decision. If the Falcons cut Kirk Cousins before the start of the league new year, which is March 12th of this year, they could get hit with $65 million in dead cap charges. And that's coming from his fully guaranteed base salary of $27.5 million and $37.5 million in remaining proration. So it's like you got a decision to make. You don't want to go into the season, in my opinion, with the quarterback battle, because if you truly have a quarterback battle, and Kirk Cousins was truly hurt, I think Kirk Cousins is better than Michael Penix. And I think Kirk Cousins could beat Michael Penix out. And then what do we have? Another conundrum here. Right. So we're just going around in circles in Atlanta. That's why I pulled out the old NFC title from 98 just to remember the good days that the Falcons fans have had something to cheer about in recent years. But it's been a while. But, yeah, this is crazy. You don't – I'm laughing because this is a laughable franchise right now, Wayne, and I hate to say that as a true Falcons fan, but this is a laughable moment. Again, I just go back and I regress to if Kirk Cousins was truly hurt going into that Denver game, why even play him? Why even risk further injury to your $180 million quarterback? So this is just, again, a head-scratching move. What do the Falcons do moving forward? You just heard the numbers here. Lots of dead money if they cut them. I personally think they should do a quarterback battle, an open quarterback battle, and whoever wins, wins. And I'll be happy with it. You keep Kirk Cousins as the backup if he's happy. But he basically – it didn't sound like he was very happy here in the press conference. We will find out. Lane, your final thoughts on this, and we'll get to the pick six.
Well, gonna hold off on my feelings about the Falcons' upcoming season until they get everything straightened out. So ask me again at the beginning of August, and I'll see if I have an answer for you then.
Yeah, again, that was per roster management system, those numbers, and
Yeah.
I will end it with that. If they cut him post June 1st designation, the dead money would spread over the 25 and 26 seasons at 40 million and 25 million and 26. So there's ways to divvy up the money so it's not as bad on the payroll, but it's still going to be atrocious. But again, if the Falcons are asking JJ Jurjevich, I say keep both rosters, keep both players on the roster, have a full-blown quarterback battle, and see who wins. Because, again, I truly believe if Kirk Cousins was that hurt, he should get another go at the starting job for the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see what happens. Wayne, let's go from the NFL to our pick six. It's the last week. This is it. You three, you, Larry, and Todd all have a shot at winning this thing. Larry's only 3 games ahead of Wayne. Wayne, you're only 1 game ahead of TC. I'm in the rear. After a 5-1 week last week, I turned out to be 64 and 61 and 1. And let me tell you something, guys. That's got to be. I am more proud of my 3 games over 500 than I've ever been in my pick six career. And I think I won every single one of these before. But this one is probably my most proud moment because I was like 8 to 12 games under 500 here at one point. And now I'm hovering around 3 over 500. I just want to go 3-3 this week, stay 3 games above 500, and keep my 500 streak alive. But let's get into it. So that's all 3 of you guys went 4-2 last week. Wayne, Larry, Todd. And Wayne, again, you're 69, 56, and 1, 3 games behind Larry. 4 games behind Larry. Todd, 68, 57, and 1. And, of course, Larry, 72, 53, and 1 after a 4-2 week. Larry's going to pick what you pick, Wayne.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that in twice, and hopefully that strategy holds off. But if you both have a bad week and Todd catches you, this could be an interesting pick six season.
Right.
But, guys, it is the Super Bowl. We will pick the spread, total, and 4 other prop bets for Super Bowl 59. All bets are from Tuesday afternoon per ESPNBet.com. Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl 59, 6:30 p.m. on Fox. Sunday evening, Kansas City, a 1.5-point favorite. Wayne, after 272 regular season football games, 3 playoff rounds, including 14 teams, we're down from 32 to 14 to the final 2 standing. It's the Chiefs' 5th Super Bowl appearance over the last 6 seasons. Wah, wah, wah. I'm tired of Chiefs Kingdom. The only tomahawk chop I like is the Atlanta Braves. Let's get on with the pick six. Wayne, what say you? Chiefs, Eagles, the Chiefs cover or the Eagles in the points for you?
Well, I'm going to give you 3 names. Huff, Elliott, Gainwell. Those are the 3 Memphis players that are playing on the Philadelphia Eagles team. So I'm going to have to pick the Philadelphia Eagles based on that and the fact that they're in the same league as the Falcons. So I'm sticking with my NFC team.
EGLEAS, baby.
Yeah, EGHL. I said bird. You know the thing.
The bird. All right, so Larry's going to take the Eagles in the points, I guess.
Yeah.
And Todd, you know what his saying is. He's not going to bet against Mahomes, and he doesn't press send, so he's got the Chiefs to cover. I am taking the Eagles in the points. Look, my first key to this game is defensive tackle Chris Jones.
All right.
Defensive tackle Chris Jones. He's the key to the first key, and honestly one of the biggest keys to this game. He's one of the elite interior defensive linemen in the NFL. He has 61 quarterback pressures on the season. The Eagles have to keep Hurts upright when he does drop back. They got to have a little bit of a passing game to open up those running lanes for Saquon Barkley. So they got to have a little bit of a passing game. And when he drops back, they got to be able to protect him from that man because he is bad. He's a bad boy. So the turnover battle. It's pretty much been whoever wins the turnover battle has won the games. Excuse me. In the NFL postseason thus far. So whoever wins that, I'm leaning towards the Eagles in this category because the Eagles, they keep Hurts upright, and when he drops back, he doesn't really fumble. He's only got one fumble in 7 postseason games over, a 3-year span, 22, since 22. So I like Saquon Barkley in this one. Can the Chiefs contain him? That's key number 2. Or key number 3, I should say. Turnover, Chris Jones, and now Saquon Barkley. Can the Chiefs contain him? I don't think the Chiefs can stop him per se. I just don't. I think he's too involved with that Eagles offense, and he's too physical of a runner. They're going to give him 20 carries, 25 carries easy, somewhere in that number. I think 23, 24, 25 is going to be the magic number for him. Gainwell's going to have a few opportunities to get in the end zone there, Wayne. But Saquon Barkley, can the Chiefs contain him? Barkley has 21 carries of 20 or more yards this season, and we all saw his explosive ability against Washington in the conference title game. And remember, from a couple of weeks ago, we took a hiatus last week. 4 straight times a divisional battle has happened in the NFC title game. The winner of that game has won the Super Bowl. Yep. So it's still on track. And Jalen Hurts became the first quarterback since Jim Kelly, and I think John Elway did it too, I'm not positive on that one, to lose their first Super Bowl and get back to the game. But John Elway might not have lost a Super Bowl. He might have just, I can't remember if he went to 3 or whatnot. This is when I wish Todd was here. But yeah, first quarterback to lose his first Super Bowl and get back in quite a while. So I really like the Eagles. I like Jalen Carter. He got 12 tackle for losses this season. He's really stepped up. The athleticism, you saw him jumping over blocks in the NFC title game. I think he's going to wreak havoc. Jordan Davis as well. Keely Ringo, a good nickel package player. But we'll get into that in a little bit more in the secondary. But I like the Eagles. I like the points. This could be a 1-point win. And if that's the case for the Chiefs, if it's a 2-point victory, we lose. But let's just say the Eagles are up by 2 and Harrison Butker kicks a field goal and they win by 1 measly point, we get the points. We get the points, Wayne. So you're going Eagles.
Yep.
I'm going Eagles. Larry's going Eagles. Todd's going Chiefs. Let's get to the over-under. It's 48.5. The Eagles had the best scoring defense in the NFL this year. Chiefs were 4th in that category. I see this game being in the 24-21 range. I don't see it going over. I'm taking the under in this game. Wayne, what say you?
I am taking the over because I believe that the Eagles may win this game by 10 or more points.
Wayne, I like where you're going with this. I think the Eagles are a more physical football team. They got a good defense. They got a better defense, and they got a really good run game that they didn't have the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl. They did not. I mean, they had a good run game. They had the tush push, and Gainwell was back there. I can't remember the other running back they had prior to Barkley. It's slipping my head, but they got Saquon Barkley back there, an MVP candidate and a 2,000-yard rusher. And I think that's the difference in the ball game. And I think the game is going to be strung out a little bit. I think Eagles will run the ball so much it'll evaporate a couple possessions for the Chiefs, keeping this game as the under. So you're going over 48.5 because you think the Eagles will whoop ass, basically.
Well, I think it'll be a solid win. I don't think it'll be one of those, 7-35 or whatever it is games.
We'll see. So Larry's going the same thing as you. He's taking the over. Todd's doing the same thing. He's going over. I'm the only one taking the under. I just think two defensive ball clubs here, lots of time to prepare, a little bit of nervous jitters. Remember, they got a three-peat on the line. No team's had the chance to three-peat since, the Bills three-peated and quadruple-peated and lost. No, I'm just teasing. But no chance to three-peat has ever team been there. So pressure on Kansas City, pressure on Philadelphia to get back to the Super Bowl. They did it. Now they got to win the game, win the big game, and not with Nick Foles as quarterback. So no Tom Brady on the other side. This should be an interesting matchup there, but I like the under. So 3 overs and an under. Let's go to the fun prop bets. Over under 249.5 passing yards for quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Wayne, what say you?
Under.
You like the under in that?
I like the under because I don't think he's going to get a chance to connect with Kelsey as much as he wants to or would like to. There may be more running, but I got a feeling that he's going to get a lot of pressure put on him, not from edge rush or defensive ends. It's going to be from the fact that everything's covered and his only option is to run, and by then it'll be too late.
Yeah, so you're going under 249.5. Yep. Sorry, I'm making the notes, folks, for all of our listeners, watchers. I am making the notes right now for everybody's pick. All right, so Larry's doing the same thing as Wayne. Todd is taking the over for Patrick Mahomes, 249.5 passing yards. I'm going under. Philly's pass defense was the best in the NFL in the regular season. Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell, 2 rookie cornerbacks, really solidified that secondary. They helped out veteran Darius Slay and ball-hawking safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Really locked down that Eagles secondary, which in prior seasons was their weakness. A porous secondary. You saw in the last Super Bowl, the holding on Bradley on the outside, the cornerback on, I believe it was Juju. I can't remember who was the player 2 years ago when they played, but yeah, he had the infamous holding call, porous defense, 10-point lead. Andy Reid and the Chiefs come back. Where have we heard that story before? Oh, yeah, with the 49ers last year. So they've overcome 2 10-point leads in a row, the Chiefs have. I don't see them doing that again. If the Eagles get up by 10, I think this game gets locked down because of these rookie corners, Darius Slay and Gardner-Johnson. They're not allowing Patrick Mahomes to just carve them up like this. I like the under in that. And also, I'm going under because he hasn't hit that number on this playoff reign. 177 versus Houston and 245 versus Buffalo. So I think that trend continues. I'm taking the under. Again, Wayne goes under, Larry goes under, Todd goes over for Mahomes passing yardage. Our fourth prop and our fourth bet of the day is the over-under 199.5 passing yards for quarterback Jalen Hurts. I'll start this one off, Wayne. He hasn't eclipsed barely 130 yards. Let's see. Let me check my notes here. For Jalen Hurts, yeah, he hasn't eclipsed that number during the postseason. I think he's thrown right around 130 yards in each playoff game, and they rely on Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts to run the football with the RPO. So I like the under in this category as well, because I'll tell you what, if Jalen Hurts has over 199.5 yards passing, that means this game's probably over and out of reach. That means they're throwing the football. They're trying to have to dial it outside to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which they can do. They do have an explosive ability on the outside. But if that's the case, I don't see the Eagles winning this game. That's why I say if the Eagles win this game, it's going to have to be under. They're going to have to stay to the trend of Jalen Hurts' playoff run so far. So under 199 passing for Jalen Hurts. What you say, Wayne?
Well, I think I'm going to go under on this one as well. Normally, if I'm picking the team to win and I'm picking the final score to be over, I'll give the winning quarterback the over on the yards. But being, his history, like you said, and I've got a feeling that it's going to be mostly passing for Jalen Hurts between their 30 and the red zone. But once they get to that red zone, it's just all going to be running. And that's just the way I see the game folding out for Philadelphia.
Yeah, you got to think about how the game's going to play out for these prop bets. These are really, really tough to bet on. Our fourth prop bet, over under 99.5 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. Wayne, what say you?
Now I'll go over on this one easily. Just
99
because
and a half.
I've got a feeling that's going to happen. Now I know that puts Gainwell in a strange spot where he's maybe not carrying as much as I think he should, but when the star is playing, you got to let him play.
So Larry, again, going with the same thing you're going complete strategy here, going with the over. Todd is going under for 99.5 for Barkley. I'm assuming he thinks the Chiefs are going to contain Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And keep him under that 100-yard mark just barely. Even if it's 98, he wins that. So he's going under for Barkley. Our final prop bet, over under 59.5 receiving yards for tight end Travis Kelce. Travis went for 117 versus Houston and just 19 yards versus Buffalo last week. So this is kind of in the middle of those numbers. But again, the way I see the game going, I see them trying to force the ball to Kelce late to get back into this ball game, and that's going to be their best chance to win it. So I'm going over 59.5 receiving yards for Travis Kelce. What say you? Todd's doing over. Again, he's doing under for Barkley, over for Hurts. I don't know if I got to those, but back to you. Over under 59.5 yards for Travis Kelce, Wayne.
I'm going to have to go under because, like you said, I think he's going to get used in some desperation situations, but I think it'll be to no avail. So he'll get some yards, but he won't be getting, 59.5? No, he won't get that high.
I like it. And Todd went over 59.5 for Travis Kelce. So that wraps up our pick six, and that will wrap up our pick six season. Stay with us. We will inform everybody who wins on our show next week. But that wraps it up. That's our final pick six of the year. It's been a great, great season. Crazy thing, Wayne, only one push, man. Yeah. I'd have to go back and look at our records from previous years, but I think that's a record low. I think we've always had at least 2 or 3 pushes.
Yeah, it seems like
so. A record low for pushes this year, and a record in the NFL for favorites winning. So we'll see if that trend continues as well. Wayne, any final thoughts on the pick six and the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, JJ, that because of your improvement from the beginning of the pick six season until now, that there is a really good chance that you may be up for the most improved player award, which will be given out this February 31st at 4:30 a.m. Eastern at the ATL Prime Sports banquet, which will be held in the parking lot of what used to be the Kmart.
That is great. That is
February 31st. Mark your calendar.
Well, guys, my final thought's pretty short and simple. Be safe, have fun, and enjoy Super Bowl 59. Go have your parties, drink responsibly, enjoy the commercials, enjoy the betting. The prop bets are so fun. Yeah. Go put, if you got $5 to spare, or you haven't signed up for a DraftKings or a FanDuel, go do a $5 bet. They'll probably match it and give you $100 or something, $50, $20. They're always doing promotions. But go bet on the Super Bowl. Go find you something. Go bet on the coin toss. Go bet on the opening kickoff, touchback, or no. There's some really fun bets in there. A couple of years ago when Andy Reid was in his first Super Bowl with the Chiefs, there was a bet that I took a screenshot of. It was, will Kansas City head coach Andy Reid eat a cheeseburger before the end of the game? And it was like, yes, was plus like 50,000. So basically, if you bet $1, you got like $500. And then if you bet no, it was $1 to win like 1 cent. It was pretty low. So just go have some fun with it, but enjoy it responsibly and safely. That's my final thought. Wayne, what you got?
Well, I've enjoyed doing this ATL Prime Sports for a very long time, and I appreciate y'all making me a part of this, and look forward to keep doing it. And basketball season's coming up, and that's going to be my that and NASCAR seem to be my big what would you call it, the expertise areas.
Yeah, NASCAR is going to be fun moving forward. What was Daytona? 2 weeks away? A week and a half?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away. It's right around Valentine's Day. But they already had the little clash, which is like a preseason race. Guys that made the pole, some other guys that got in old Bowman Gray Stadium, which is a very old racetrack that's been around for a very long time, but they never race at. So they got a chance to race on that old track, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I like what NASCAR's doing with these stadium series, like they did in the Coliseum, and like you just mentioned, it's pretty cool. So, well, folks, that wraps us up. If you like the content, please give us a like and a subscribe at ATL Prime Sports across the board. Check us out. For Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ right here in Lobern, Georgia. We'll see you next week. Get you one. Go Eagles.